Mukherjee, Professor K. Ratnabali ji, Professor Ramatav Chakravarti, and Professor Chandra, Chairperson, International Relations. I request all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to please give a round of applause for all the distinguished guests of the day. A hearty welcome to all of you, ma'am and sir. On behalf of University of Delhi and Comparative Literature Association of India, I welcome you all to the 17th Biennial Conference. The theme of the conference is Comparative Literature as Alternative Humanities, Ethics, Affect, and the Everyday Social. To ceremonially begin the event, I would request the chief guest and the other dignitaries, all the dignitaries present here, to please come forward for the lighting of the lamp ceremony. I request you all to please rise for the... Thank you all. You may please take your seats. We would now have the ceremonial Kulgeet of the university. May I request all of you to again please rise for the Kulgeet.
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम सकल वसुधा निज कुटुंब की भावना संस्कृति सनातन आधुनिक शिक्षा पुरातन ज्ञान धाराओं का संगम
देश की स्वाधीनता हित भूमिका शतकोटि वंदन
निष्ठा धृति सत्यम के मंगल दिव्य भावों का समागम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम
भव्य महाविद्यालयों के परिसरों से चिर सुशोभित श्रेष्ठ गुरुजन कर रहे नित छात्र और छात्राएं दीक्षित
सदचरित्राचार पावन साधना संकल्प संयम
नवल वैश्विक चेतना नव क्रांति संस्कारों का उद्गम जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम
ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम
Thank you all.
This one I wanted to announce myself. Behind this conference, we have one person who dedicated his life for the Comparative Literature Association of India, that is Dr. Chandra Mohan. You must have seen the standee we have put. While organizing this and going through this whole thing, I often thought that had he been there, I would have said, "Sir, मुझसे होगा नहीं, आप कर लो." It was his earnest request and a dream to hold the CLAI Biennial Conference in Delhi after almost 3-4 decades, and also to host the XVII meeting. He left us a few months back. While he was in ICU, even then he would be sending emails and calling, and I would tell him that don't take so much pressure. So I propose that we have 1 minute of silence in the honor, in the memory of Dr. Chandra Mohan. Thank you. We have with us Dr. Chandra Mohan's partner, Dr. Ramesh Mohan. Thank you, madam, for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
We would now take it an honor to felicitate the distinguished guests of the day. I would request Professor Amitav Chakravarti to please honor and felicitate Professor K. Ratnabaliji, Dean, Culture Council, University of Delhi. Yes, now I would request Professor Ratnabaliji to please felicitate the two special guests of honor we have. May, ma'am, I request you to please begin felicitating with Professor Lucia Baldrini, President, International Comparative Literature Association. Ma'am, I request you to please honor and felicitate Tapti Mukherjee. Professor Tapti Mukherjee is the President of Comparative Literature Association of India. Professor Tapti Mukherjee is the President of Comparative Literature Association of India. It's a great honor to have you here, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Professor Amitav Chakravarti, Convenor, Organizing Committee, and Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Delhi, to please felicitate Professor K. Ratnabaliji. She is the Dean of Culture Council, University of Delhi. Academic Affairs. Yes, ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you here. I request Professor Amitav Chakravarti to please felicitate Professor Chandra. He is the former chairperson of International Relations, University of Delhi.
And the senior most professor in law faculty.
It's an Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request Professor K. Ratnabaliji to please deliver the welcome address.
Namaskar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh Ji in absentia. Our guest of honors for today's event, Professor Lucia Baldrini, President, International Comparative Literature Association, Professor Tapti Mukherjee, President, Comparative Literature Association of India, Professor Amitav Chakravarti, Dean, Faculty of Arts. We have Professor Chandrasekhar, former Head of Department of Persian, and he was also former Chairperson of International Relations. Off the dais, we have many Head of Departments, Director IIIL, Professor Tekchandani, we have Director NCWEB, and principals of colleges, dignitaries from other institutions, participants from India and abroad, faculty members of the University of Delhi and other institutions, students and staff. Very good morning. It is an honor and privilege to extend the welcome to the 17th Biennial International Conference of Comparative Literature Association of India, which is jointly organized by the university and the Comparative Literature Association of India, to a conference which is titled as Comparative Literature as Alternative Humanities, Ethics, Affect, and the Everyday Social. If we look at literature, it is said that it is in literature that the concrete outlook of humanity receives its expression. And I'm very happy to know that this particular conference has been organized in collaboration with, if you look at University of Delhi, inside the departments which are involved in the organization of this event is 14 departments. And one institution, that is Institution of Lifelong Learning and the Office of International Relations. It's very rare that in a university as big as the University of Delhi, that several departments come together to hold a conference. So right from the Department of Arabic to the Department of Urdu, we have seen the partnership collaboration drawing strength and support from each other to organize this 3 days conference. Literature is also said to be the art of discovering something extraordinary about ordinary people and saying the ordinary word something extraordinary. So I'm sure that all the departments, faculty members as well as members of the 2 organizations, that is Comparative Literature Association of India and International Comparative Literature Association, are eminent academicians who delve deep into literature as well as write about it. And they are the ones, I feel, that they are able to sense the pulse of the society and then put them in words for us to read and understand. So in these terms, I can say that literature is how you look at society, how you look at life. That means when we have different cultures, there has to be difference in what we look at life. So therefore, there will be definitely plurality in thought expression, plurality in perception, plurality in drawing the inferences. But we all are humans. So there is something innate that connects us all. So it doesn't mean that we are discrete people, discrete ideas and cultures, but something which is common connects us like a golden thread. So I think this comparative, literature association, and as well as the theme that has been chosen for this conference, will dive deep into these pluralities as well as the interconnectedness that exists. Literature also gives an opportunity to study how certain movements or certain changes or transformation in society are perceived in a period of time, though the event may be a single thing. Say, for example, we all have faced COVID epidemic as a humanity, but how that same event has been perceived and how in that circumstances and the effect in our lives have been perceived differently, we can look at literature and find it. Maybe it'll give us a clue as to the resilience of people. It'll give us a clue on the narratives of how people look at a single, event. Sometimes it is also said that by Jiao Xingxian, it's in literature that true life can be found. It is under the mask of fiction that you can tell the truth. So, though I won't say that literature is history, but then it embeds certain things which are true, which you may not be able to express, but then that tells us something about a reflection of the society. So, I feel that this particular conference will be a turning point where all this discussion can take meaningfully, and each of the participants in this particular conference will be able to take back many things, enrich their understanding of cultures, enrich the understandings of how people, from different cultures write literature. We are very glad to have with us our guest of honor. We have Professor Lucia Boldrini, President, International Comparative Literature Association. She's a Professor Emerita of English and Comparative Literature at Goldsmiths, University of London, where she founded and directs the Center for Comparative Literature and Honorary Professor of Comparative Literature at University College London. She holds doctorates from the University of Pisa and University of Leicester. Among her books are autobiographies of others, historical subjects and literary fiction of 2012, Joyce, Dante, and the Poetics of Literary Relations 2001, and as editor, Medieval Joyce 2002, Experiments in Life Writing, Intersections of Autobiography and Fiction, and The Ruthless Companion. Very warm welcome to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh Ji, a very dynamic and young Vice Chancellor who is leading the university to newer heights day by day. Very warm welcome, sir. Professor Lucia is an elected member of Academia Europaea and currently serves as the President of the International Comparative Literature Association since 2022. A very warm welcome to you. Our second guest of honor is Professor Tapati Mukherjee. She was former Dean of Faculty of Arts at Vishwa Bharati University in Shantiniketan, West Bengal, India. She was the Adhyaksha Rabindra Bhavana and Coordinator Tagore Studies, Vishwa Bharati. She also served as the Director of Culture and Cultural Relations, Vishwa Bharati, and was involved in many research projects on Bengali literature, folklore, and cultural studies. Her books include the Dharam Shastras in Social Legal Perspective and Scottish Orientalism and Bengali Renaissance, the Continuum of Ideas. She played a crucial role in shaping the academic environment at Vishwa Bharati University. Her leadership roles, such as Adhyaksha of Rabindra Bhavana and Coordinator of Tagore Studies, demonstrate her expertise and commitment to promoting Tagore's legacy and cultural heritage. Very warm welcome to you, ma'am, and we thank you for joining us here. With these words, I would like to once again extend a very warm welcome on behalf of the university and on behalf of Comparative Literature Association of India and on my own behalf. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the address. Now, I would like to request Professor Amitav Chakravarti ji to please felicitate and honor Professor Yogesh Singh ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Thank you, sir, for your gracious presence. I request you all to give a big round of applause. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request the guest of honor, Professor Lucia Baldrini, President, International Comparative Literature Association, to please address the gathering. Ma'am, please.
I would like to thank you all on behalf of the ICLA for inviting us, for organizing this event. I think this is the most beautiful start of a conference, inauguration of a conference I've ever experienced. So thank you for that. Thank you for your great generosity, for your hospitality. And I would like to thank in particular the University of Delhi in the person of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh, and the Registrar of Delhi University, who I know should have been here. I saw the name earlier, but he's not, in fact, here, Dr. Vikas Gupta, and the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Professor Amitava Chakraborty. And also all the administrative deans of Delhi University, all the faculty and students of the Faculty of Arts and all the allied centers and colleges, and the administrative staff also of the International Guest House where we are staying, where we had our meetings, Executive Council meeting of the International Comparative Literature Association, and we had very great help. And also I would like to thank very much all the student volunteers who have been wonderful and very incredibly helpful to us. And also I would like to thank the Comparative Literature Association of India and Professor Tapti Mukherjee, who is here, and Professor Kavita Sharma as the two co-presidents. Professor Sharma is not here, but I would also like to thank her very much. And the Comparative Literature Association of India in general, all its executive council, all its officers, and the association as such. And I would also like to thank very, very much Professor Ipchita Chandra, the Secretary of the ICLA and member of the Comparative Literature Association of India, for helping us very, very much, for facilitating our arrival, the organization of this, and even acting as our private tourist agent. So I'm very grateful for all that help. We've already had 2 days of very productive meetings. We were sustained by high teas and endless cups of chai. We were very grateful for that. And we look forward to the next 3 days of this Comparative Literature Association of India conference, knowing that it will fulfill the promise of its wonderful and very rich program. I would also like to say one more personal thing. In our meetings in the past 2 days and at this conference, we are very much missing a friend and colleague, Professor Chandra Mohan, who so much wanted to organize this joint event, bring together the international and the Indian comparative literature associations. And he is very much in our thoughts and in our hearts, and we miss him, but we also feel his presence. So again, on behalf of the ICLA, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind words. Now I would request Professor Tapti Mukherjee, President, Comparative Literature Association of India, to please share her views and address the gathering. Ma'am, please.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and all of you, before I start, I crave your permission to speak in this fashion, not on this dais, but taking a hand mic for your physical illness. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Delhi University, respected Dean of Arts, Delhi University and coordinator of this international conference, and at the same time, president of this session, Professor Amitabh Chakraborty, Dean of Culture, Honorable Dean, respected Dean of Culture, University of Delhi, respected Professor Chandrasekhar, and whom we have just heard, her inspiring speech, Professor Lucia Baldini, respected and honorable President of International Comparative Literature Association. At the same time, resource persons and chairs of different academic sessions of this conference, 3-day-long conference, erudite faculty of Delhi University, principals and teachers of various colleges, respected participants who have assembled here from various corners of India and abroad, respected staff members of Delhi University, all connoisseurs of comparative literature, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and privilege on my part to be a part of this 3-day-long 17th Biennial International Conference of the Comparative Literature Association of India, that is CLAI, organized by University of Delhi in collaboration with CLAI on subject matter. The thrust area has already been mentioned on comparative literature as alternative humanities, ethics, affect, and the everyday social. We have assembled here in the inaugural session of this particular conference. And it is more heartening to note that along with this, as already mentioned, with this international conference, an academic meeting of the Association Internationale de Littérature Comparée, that is International Comparative Literature Association, ICLA, has been arranged in Delhi University, which is, I'm glad to say, extremely glad to say, a befitting place considering the fact that 14 Indian literatures are part of the academic schedule of this university. It is indeed a great achievement. I convey my sincerest thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor and all those who are associated with this for offering us an opportunity to expedite your noble aim, mission, and objective in promoting comparative literature in India. Furthermore, 3 panels by 3 committees under ICLA as part of this conference has also been taken care of. But in this atmosphere and mirth and happiness, we all feel saddened. Because, as we have already heard from Amitabh, we miss very much our erstwhile General Secretary, Professor Chandra Mohan, who had steered us in organizing this conference and at the same time was instrumental in initiating the idea of proposing ICLA meeting in Delhi University. We miss you so much, sir. Unfortunately, he is no more with us to see his cherished dream materialized finally. But we Indians, we believe in the immortality of soul. Ajo nitta shashatoyang puranaha nahanyate hanyamane shariye. The body is destructible, is destroyed, but not the soul which is eternal. And so, let us hope, let us pray that wherever he is, we feel always at every moment his blessings from heaven. At the same time, I take this opportunity to remind you of those gloomy days. I always feel it sincerely when comparative literature was hardly recognized as a separate discipline in our academia. When, quote unquote, death of a discipline was the predicted forecast about the future of comparative literature, when students and teachers of comparative literature department are frequently confronted with a question about the efficacy, about the propriety of comparative literature, when there are so many single literature departments in our academia, in our colleges and universities, then why comparative literature? At last, we are glad to see that at least to some extent, comparative literature has finally won over. Why? We could make that gain. That has been, the reason has been pointed out by Professor Navonita Devsen, a doyen of comparative literature in India. I quote Navonita Di. Comparative literature has taught to listen to other voices, to be patient with, which we do not now, and respectful to others' views. We need to stop and look into ourselves, to question ourselves before questioning others. These are harsh times all over the world. We feel it now. Comparative literature faces us, teaches us to understand, support, and coexist. Coexistence and peace can be ultimate gift of comparative literature to mankind, unquote. And it is with these vision and mission of promoting cooperation, I look back to history and also want you to have a glance at history at least, of promoting cooperation and global fraternity, that Comparative Literature Association of India was formed in 1992. And our predecessors, Professor Shishir Kumar Das, Professor Omiyo Dev, Professor Shapon Majumdar, and many others, to name, I just name a few, who sincerely believed that the world can be made a much better place to live in if the motto of comparative literature can be implemented. And so they steered the study of comparative literature in India. Jadavpur University is the first university to institutionalize a full-fledged comparative literature in India, established by Professor Buddhadev Bose, the noted literature. And these people steered the study of comparative literature in India and attempted to frame a module of Indian comparative literature befitting our literary context. Fortunately enough, we have assembled in Delhi University, which is steering this cause particularly with 14 literature departments under the same umbrella. I repeat it, I reiterate it once again. We are indeed fortunate. We may recall here how the idea of comparative literature was conceptualized in India by our greatest cultural icon, Rabindranath, when he first used the term Tulanamulok Sahitya, comparative literature, in the sense just as the world cannot be segregated within a particular geopolitical boundary, similarly, literature has no border. Literature has no boundary. So comparative literature can hardly be designated as a discipline, as a subject. It is a philosophy of life, ingrained in our consciousness and psyche, as has been pointed out by our respectable Dean of Culture, Delhi University. And in tune with this about objective, you may ask us, why Comparative Literature Association of India? What are precisely its functions? So towards that query, my answer is, and I am sure all my colleagues will agree with me when I say that in tune with this avowed objective, the underlying concept of CLAI, Comparative Literature of Association, has been exemplified, I quote, to further national integration through awareness of comparative literature among the linguistic states of India, unquote. And at the same time, to promote the ideal of one world by appreciation of comparative literature beyond national frontiers. I repeat, beyond national frontiers, and in pursuance thereof, to rise above separate identities of single national literatures, so that the all-embracing concept of Vishwa Sahitya, as visualized by Tagore or Goethe's Welt literature, may be realized as a measure of international understanding, unquote. Now coming to the thrust area of the present conference, comparative literature as alternative humanities, ethics, affect, and the everyday social. Before we delve deep, we have to think about the real connotation of the terms humanities, ethics, etc. This has already been pointed out by our respected Dean of Culture. Now, what is humanities? Humanities helps us, ourselves and the world. That is, it is a study of the expression of human beings as a means of exploring and revealing. Revealing what? Revealing what it means to be human. I repeat, revealing what it means to be human. So human aspect is the key word of humanities. On the other hand, ethics means a code of basic principles that teach us to demarcate between what is right and wrong, just and unjust. Admittedly, the concept of right and wrong and human also varies from person to person, from generation to generation. Still, it emphasizes self-introspection, even if subtle, to inculcate a sense of nearness with others, irrespective of sex, caste, and creed. The phenomenal progress in science and technology, backed by European Enlightenment and other advancement of knowledge, forced migration, refugee exodus, etc., due to imperialist aggression and divisive mechanism had created. We all know about it. We are conscious about it, but we do not pronounce. Had created a sense of alienation among the people, whose voices were voices of some are muffled and marginalizing the so-called quote-unquote other. It is in this arena comparative literature has its role to play, since it believes, as has already been pointed out by my other speakers, because it believes in inclusivity and plurality. As such, it focuses on the non-stereotyped, non-canonical, unknown narratives of the so-called quote-unquote other, and thus frames a genre of alternative humanities. Similarly, by incorporating human, sympathetic attitude and keeping the doors open for global interaction, comparative literature can act as a torchbearer in the present perspective. To conclude, in today's strife-torn, violence-marred world, we cannot see TV, we cannot read newspapers because of this growing violence. Violence-marred world where imperialist, secessionist, and communal forces are everywhere raising their ugly heads to disrupt peace, harmony, and more fundamentally, basic human relationship. Comparative literature appears to be the only medium, not only as an alternative paradigm, but a medium to open our heart, to interact with far and near, at least try for a better, compassionate world to live in as dreamt by our predecessors. I'm sure that this 3-day long conference in Delhi University will be a success, will unfurl the flag of humanity, of bringing near the far off, which has been said which has been echoed by Rabindranath, Durke korile nikot bondhu, porke korile bhai. You have made the far nearer, my friend, and you have made the other, my brother. And I conclude with the hymn of our ancient seers, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, Sarve shantu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchid dukkho bhak bhavet. Let all of you be happy. Let no disease, no decay, no ailment ever touch you. May all of you be free from all disease, and let there be happiness prevailing everywhere. Thank you. Namaskar.
For your kind words, dear ma'am. It was simply mesmerizing to hear you, and we wished we could hear you for other sessions as well. It was wonderful having you here. Thank you so much. To take the event further, may I now request Professor Amitav Chakravarti, Convener Organizing Committee and Dean Faculty of Arts, University of Delhi, to please deliver his address. Sir, please.
Namaskar. After listening to our President of CLAI, I feel a bit less agitated. Because as you know, that for 3 days what we have been trying to do, and someone who wants to decorate a home knows the best where he has failed. So I'll start with this. Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Yogesh Tyagi, our esteemed guests of honor, Professor Boldrini and Topotidi, our former chairperson, International Relations, Professor Chandrasekhar, our Dean Academics, Professor K. Ratnabali. Distinguished guests, I can see faces whose names I should take, but the point is that there would be too many names. When we thought of doing this, that was an academic plan. Spending 3 decades, almost 3 decades in Delhi, I felt, still now I feel, the two things, two areas which Delhi could be the hub of, center of, have not been explored enough. One is translation between Indian languages, and the other is comparative Indian literature. And so when Dr. Chandra Mohan asked me to do that, I was not ready to take responsibility. At the same time, the dream sort of snatched me. Let's try. And I'm so thankful to the heads of the departments of my faculty and other faculty of social science also, those who are teaching language and literature, came together. There have been moments when one convener will write to me, you are not sending me anything, what to convene? So we have crossed that. I still believe that in such way, the way we have worked, it would be possible for us to think of a larger platform of language teachers, literature teachers from Delhi University to continue to interact. Not to just being in the department and not even learning another language or literature which is taught in the next department. Of course, everyone is not interested in comparative literature, but those who are interested need a platform. These are the dreams which are behind this. And we are trying to do. Let's see how next 3 days goes. We are doing a lot of things for Indian languages, I should add here. My department and three other departments include, we teach all 22 H schedule languages in our university at various levels. At the same time, we are trying to see that Indian language writings, how those could be put in indexes which are important for ranking, etc. I think all of these push us to something that is more interaction between literary scholars from various languages and a journey towards some productive outputs in terms of comparative literary understanding. I'm again saying I cannot thank enough of those whom I can see sitting there. But yeah, if we have succeeded in at least starting a collaboration, then that's thanks to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your inspiring words, sir. I would now request Professor Yogesh Singh Ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, to please come to the podium and enlighten us with his words.
Good morning, namaste, good morning. Professor Lucia Boldrini, President, International Comparative Literature Association. And also Professor of English and Creative Writing, University of London. Professor Tapti Mukherjee, President, Comparative Literature Association of India. Professor Amitabh Chakravarti, Dean, Faculty of Arts. Professor Chandrasekhar, Professor Ratnabali, Professor Ravi Tekchandani, Professor Ramesh Mohan, Professor Anil Aneja, Professor Anil Rai, Dr. Rajesh Singh, Geeta Bhatji, Sanjay Roy, and many other respected, distinguished academicians, educationists, head of the departments, members of conference organizing committees, subcommittees, secretaries and members executive committee of ICLA and CLAI, other respected teachers, distinguished delegates, and my dear friends and students, good morning to all of you. This is the 17th Biennial International Conference on Comparative Literature, Association of India. And on behalf of University of Delhi, I welcome you all in this 17th International Conference. As we all know, Delhi University is a very old institution, centenary old university, a reputed seat of learning of India. And when a reputed seat of India, institution of eminence, organize a conference of this stature and this nature, effect will be visible everywhere. And where the theme of the conference is comparative literature as alternative humanities, ethics, affect, and the everyday social. Yesterday evening, I thought, let me work on the subject. I was quite confused. I am a student of engineering, particularly computer science. These words were very heavy for me. I could not understand many things. But as a vice chancellor of a university, you have to speak on many topics. So I thought, let me try to understand the comparative literature as alternative humanities. But the best thing here, when I came to know that this conference is organized collaboratively by all the departments teaching languages and literature in University of Delhi. First of all, congratulations for this. No, it happens rarely in universities. It doesn't happen regularly. We don't want to collaborate. We are very happy, fixed in our disciplines. But when a conference of this size is to be organized by many, many departments, 15, 16 departments of University of Delhi, they sat together, worked together for the conference. It's a matter of pride to all of us. Thanks for organizing this collaborative conference. And your subject is also collaborative. So that was the first step. You have taken that step. It means what? We have to think beyond boundaries of disciplines. What could be the alternative view of humanities? Then I came to know few words from your literature which was given to me. Relationality, plurality, cultural mobility, and cultural understanding. All are very relevant words. All are very relevant words for a large size country like India. India is the home of 140 crore people. All words are very, very important. Cultural understanding, cultural mobility, plurality, and relationality. Every state in India has distinct culture, rituals, language, and dialects. There is a unity in diversity. We experience this. Indians experience this every day. There is a unity in diversity. We respect, embrace, and encourage diversity under the framework of humanity. That's why, if I have to find a line from Indian culture, one line, appropriate line, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means word is a family. And when G20 summit came to India, we got the responsibility for the organization of G20 summit in Delhi. Our Dheyavakya motto was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. This is Indian culture. Professor Mukherjee mentioned about the linguistic states. Then when she mentioned, I was thinking about it. India, after independence, took a decision to formulate linguistic states, states based on languages in India. But US did not do it. You see the map of United States of America, their states are pure administrative units. Which one is correct? Which one is good? Which one is more appropriate? We really don't know. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. But as social scientists and the students of comparative literature, I expect that some of you should study the outcomes of both the systems. States based on pure administrative units and states based on language, linguistic states. If I have to answer this question, then I am not very sure what should be a correct answer. There may not be a correct answer also, because we have number of good advantages also and disadvantages also. But it's a matter of concern, because if we are able to understand this properly, then other decisions will follow accordingly. And people are very sensitive about language being the tool to express culture, ethics, and values. Language is very, very important in the life of any individual. When I became Vice Chancellor of a university in western part of India, that is MS University of Baroda. It's a western state. Language is not Hindi, language is Gujarati. I would like to share two experiences. One is when I joined as a Vice Chancellor from Delhi, I went from here. Then after only 3-4 days, I had to attend a public function, a cultural public function in Baroda. I spoke in Hindi, and there is no issue in Gujarat about Hindi language. Everyone understands and everyone speaks also. And then I said, I am sorry I do not know the Gujarati language, although I wish to. In the last 3-4 days in Gujarat, I have learned only 1 or 2 sentences. And the sentence was, તમે ડાયલ કરેલો નંબર કોઈ ઉપાડતો નથી. कृपया थोड़े समय પછી प्रयास करूं शक्य. कि तुम जो डायल कर रहे हो नंबर कोई उठाता नहीं है, थोड़े समय बाद इसको डायल करें. The number you have dialed, nobody is picking up, please try after some time. And you see the power of language. I used only 1 sentence and I got standing ovation. Everyone stood up. This is the power of language. Because language is not a language. It carries emotions. Language is the river of culture. तो मेरे को समझ आ गया कि दिल जीतना है तो भाषा को सीखो, नहीं तो दिल नहीं जीत पाओगे. Then after 3-4 months, in MS University Baroda, medium of instruction is English and administrative language is also English. But we got a letter from government of Gujarat in Gujarati language. I placed that letter in the syndicate. I had to as a Vice Chancellor for a purpose. When I was reading the letter, I was comfortably reading in Gujarati without realizing the impact. Kyunki language script is same, it was very easy for me to read. I could not realize what happened. Immediately, every syndicate member stood up. They were clapping that, "Arey, Vice Chancellor seekh gaya Gujarati bolna, likhna." Then they said, "Sir, matter is secondary, it is past." Ki apno manas che. Apno manas che. This is the power of language and culture. दिल जीतना है तो भाषा सीखो. That's why this comparative literature, it is very powerful thing when we see the effect and the social. Third one is the everyday social. You know, collaboration and coordination can do wonders. Like from the academics, I just want to give an example of management discipline. Management people started Masters in Business Administration, MBA, a very hit program everywhere in the world. But before 1950, this was not at all a discipline. Few people from different disciplines decided to carve out a discipline. They are using good things, relevant things, appropriate things from psychology, economics, leadership, commerce, social work, sociology, mathematics, statistics, data science, computer science. And a new discipline has emerged. Now it has become a very powerful, very important discipline of study. This is the beauty of beauty and example of cooperation and knowledge integration. We have to learn lessons and we have to learn openness from the people who are in management discipline. See what they have done it. They are not only shaping the future of young minds, but also providing corporate leadership to the world. 21st century is the time for integration of knowledge. This is the time for integration of knowledge. And when we say comparative literature, and many departments of the university are collaborating in this effort, I feel that we should think of some new disciplines if we can carve out, and University of Delhi should take some leads. I am very hopeful that under the leadership of Dean, Faculty of Arts, please prepare a project and do something, think about it, think differently. We have to think and experiment beyond disciplines for the welfare of our dear students. Another example is law. Although when you talk about the discipline of law, you should be very cautious about it. It's the discipline of lawyers, advocates. But if you think what type of skills are required? Drafting, expression, arguments, ability. They should be good in a language, English or Hindi or any other language. But journalists are also good in those languages, those abilities and skills. If these 3, 4, 5 disciplines sit together, why should we have such a specialized, isolated discipline law? They are not focusing on drafting, arguments, ability, expression, nothing. They are focusing on hardcore discipline, Article 1, Article 2, Article 50, ordinance, statute, and something. But you see the drafting of a journalist. They draft because words are limited. See the effect of advertising industry where time is very crucial and critical. In 30 seconds, you have to convey so many things. But when we see judgments, 250 pages. We immediately try to see what is there in the operative part of the judgment. They should also now open themselves and other disciplines to create something new, very, very different. And now the national education policy is also open, trying to build bridges amongst the disciplines. Can't we think of new disciplines? Our forefathers thought of many disciplines, that's why those disciplines have become reality. Electrical engineers decided to have a separate discipline, electronics, established. Then electronics decided to establish a new discipline, computer science and engineering, established. Then software engineering, established. Now people are talking about a full 4-year degree program in machine learning, data science, and after a few years, those disciplines may also become very established disciplines. So in humanities also, innovation is required, bridges are required to have new things here. So how can we integrate such disciplines? It's a challenge. I would like to quote Edward Said, American philosopher, academic, literary critic, and political activist and professor of literature at Columbia University. He said, you cannot continue to victimize someone else just because you yourself were a victim once. There has to be a limit. There has to be an expiry date for such things. Because something bad happened to you, we keep on doing the same thing here in 21st century also. This is the question. He wrote a book Orientalism in 1978. This book came in 1978, and he asked a question: how the Western world perceives the Orient? Because narratives are built based on such theories. That's why we also in India feel that modernization doesn't mean westernization. It may be a sub-part of it, but superset is very large when we say modernization doesn't mean westernization. I would also like to quote Joseph Nye Jr., American political scientist. He said, he described the soft power and power of soft power. What is soft power? It is the ability to get what you want through attraction rather than coercion or payments. It arises from the attractiveness of a country's culture, political ideas, and policies. Don't invade. Dil jeetne ka kaam karo, and in the history of mankind, India has never conquered any country. This is our culture, this is our soft power. My dear students, those who are here, you must have visited many East Asian countries. You will find roots of Indian culture there. That is the power of, that is the effect of Indian soft power there. We have never used military for anything. And there are very few countries in the world. That's why we have many lessons, we have many stories to share with the world. I would like to quote Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee, 2-3 lines of a famous poem, who was the former Prime Minister of India. He said, Gopal Ram ke naamon par kab maine atyachar kiye. This is Indian culture, just refer India. गोपाल राम के नामों पर कब मैंने अत्याचार किए, कब दुनिया को हिंदू करने घर घर में नरसंहार किए, भूभाग नहीं शत शत मानव के हृदय जीतने का निश्चय, हिंदू तन मन हिंदू जीवन हिंदू रग रग मेरा परिचय. दिस इज द पावर ऑफ सॉफ्ट पावर इंडियन कल्चर. यह है भारत की संस्कृति, संस्कार और सत्कार. भारत इनकी भूमि है, संस्कृति, संस्कार और सत्कार. दिस इज आवर कल्चर. Lastly, I would like to quote Sue Elfrin, educator and social reformer from Oregon, Portland, United States of America. She said, even when we interact daily with the people of other ethnic groups, we rarely talk about racial issues. It seems to scary to people, but we must start doing it. We have to break down the barriers between us and talk openly, honestly, and with respect. The rewards far outweigh any concerns we may have. Like, we don't want to talk about some issues, like racial issues or many other sensitive issues. We try to avoid. She is saying, no, please discuss, but discuss with respect. Give respect to others. They will understand that. She worked for non-white, non-European people who settled in Oregon. So we should discuss such human issues through studies of comparative literature. And comparative literature associations must play a very positive and active role in such endeavors. My best wishes to the conference and its delegates. I am very hopeful that the discussions may emerge, may provide some guidelines in the larger interest of humanity. And when you are in India, and this conference has been organized here after 3 decades, as I am told, then the focus should also be on Indian culture, so that world should know about Indian culture, value system, and when we say we want to create a better world, a compassionate world, then we have many stories and lessons to share with the world. when we say compassionate word, karuna ka bhav, Indian people practice this compassion regularly in the daily life. Then Mukherjee ma'am has rightly shared the Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. This is the way of life. We should create a better word for our future generations, a compassionate word, enthusiastic word, equal opportunity word for everyone. My good wishes to the conference again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a thought-inspiring talk. It's always a privilege to hear you. May I now request Professor Chandrasekhar, former Chairperson, International Relations, University of Delhi, to deliver vote of thanks.
Shortly, it will be good afternoon. And moving out, the good morning too. Namaskar and welcome to all the delegates from beyond the borders and within the borders. As our Honorable Vice Chancellor mentioned that it's a unique event that all departments of Faculty of Arts and many from social sciences have come together to celebrate this event with our Comparative Literature Association of India and also with the President of International Comparative Literature Society. In June 1922, when Faculty of Arts was established, only few languages, Arabic and Persian were the first which started, along with Urdu and Hindi. At that time, there was no Faculty of Arts building. It came almost after 22 years after that. Today we have 41 languages, teaching and research programs, as can be depicted and seen in the banner in which theme of this conference is mentioned along with the Braille also. This shows how rich is Faculty of Arts. Till 2 decades back, it was Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, perhaps the biggest faculty in the University of Delhi. And I remember it was difficult to meet the dean also in those days. Sir, I am talking about my post-graduation days and the early career days. I'm not criticizing them, I'm talking about the big volume of that. As sir mentioned, if you know the language of a country or people, it is easy to communicate and win their heart. On many accounts, we criticize our previous rulers, that is Britishers. I hope Madam Louisa will not mind by these words. But we are also thankful to them for one reason. I have been in Central Asian countries where I observed that natives of those countries cannot read, understand the writing of their ancestors and even 2 generations before. They cannot read the Turkic script in which all the inscriptions and writings and their books are written. Today they may have the 6 Turkic countries, but the 99.4 people cannot read their own script. Reason, sir, you mentioned about the administrative units of states. I do not know about states' linguistic history, whether they had different scripts or not, but Central Asia had different scripts. One script, especially the Perso-Arabic script, earlier to that, Pahlavi script, and now they cannot read their own history in their own language. Throughout, in last century, Cyrillic script was imposed, and even the names, like suppose the name of a renowned painter of Uzbekistan, his name is Akmal Nur, but name is changed Akmal Nuruddinov. So not only that people of those countries were deprived of their illustrious past language and literature, they also became devoid of their speaking power in their own language, in fact. So for this reason, especially after 1947, we have good number of languages. One can see through census report, and especially where the speakers are more than 7,000 to 8,000, their number is recorded in the Anthropological Survey of India's census reports. So this is the richness which represent different cultures. In our languages, we have good number of languages which came with people who came from the different borders, far and beyond. And many times, new words came with them, absorbed in our languages. Not only the words, even the sounds. I give you a single example, sorry to take some time. In Hindi, we use word takhna. The medial sound, khe, is not our Indic sound. We have khe, like in my own name, Shekhar. It's not, and when I went to Iran first time, people who, as they do not have the sound of khe, they changed it to khe, and I was made Shayekhar. Khar is donkey. Shayekhar. Khar is thorn. So whenever I tried to correct them, so they said, look, better we call you Shakar. I said, at least it has some good meaning. And we observed many such sounds. Every one of us like a ghazal. Even in Gujarati, sir, a ghazal is there. So, good number of words and sounds are also, as I gave the example of takhna, we also surprised how this medial sound has become a part of this one. So, with such pluralistic area of languages, comparative literature in India is very natural. It reminds me the days when, after class in the morning, Professor Sisir Kumar Das, he was head of the Department of Modern Indian Languages, and then it was a comparative literary studies also. Professor Satyanath is here, who is also doyen of this field. He used to give us lectures with a cup of tea in his hand, and there used to be some tea stalls on the Faculty of Arts, Tagore Hall building that side. One of the source of the comparative literature is Panchtantra. How the stories traveled from here, not only to Iran, but to the whole world, and many stories from their regions also were incorporated in their Panchtantras, which were not originally in them. In fact, there was no book, namely as a Panchtantra. It was all some oral anecdotes of wisdom, which were collected first time by a wazir of Sassanid dynasty in 5th century, and then he converted into Pahlavi and in Syriac-Arabic, and later on translated into European languages a lot. Also came back to China, and then it was again reproduced in many things. So our country has a huge potential for the comparative literature. As Madam Tapti Mukherjee highlighted many aspects of the theme of this one. This alternative emerged every time because the literature is a mirror of the society, and the society is never stagnated. Changed from time to time. See the literature from Tulsidas' point of view and today's Dinkar's point of view, or the others also. Literature of every language also gives us a comparative study within itself. But when we compare it with the other languages, it is like an ocean, and many new ideas, not only for the unheard or others, we find common or uncommon, and then new ideas emerge. Those who have come first time to India in this conference, I hope they will have not only the opening eye observation of Indian society, but have variety of data for themselves to go and compile writings on these. With these few words, I sincerely feel obliged to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yuvesh Singh Ji. In fact, I wish he had not come. The reason I tell you, praising someone in his back is better always. If you go to Delhi University's website and hear his lectures, you will find a variety. He said he's from computer science, but if you hear his lectures, I surprised being a Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, which has more than 6 lakh students, and still finding time to speak differently on the different subjects. It needs some stamina also. His lectures are not like nazm. उर्दू में नज़्म जो है वो एक सिलसिलेवार कविता होती है. His lectures are like a ghazal, every couplet of which has a different meaning. And he keeps on prompting us for the new ideas, as he just said about Faculty of Arts, what we should do it. I thank you, sir, on behalf of myself and all my colleagues from Faculty of Arts. We are thankful to Professor Luciana. She is from the University of Goldsmith, London, has good number of work on the comparative literature. Professor Tapti Mukherjee, I was getting inspiration when sitting with her, especially the last lines, which shows India was invaded many times, but never went out of India to invade others, to spread especially the religion. If the Buddhism went either in eastern part of Asia or Central Asia, either via China or directly through Hindu Kush, it went with the all peaceful mindsets. We don't find any such hymn which provokes you for any kind of intimidating others. Comparative literature provides us such uncommon themes also when we study variety of the literature from other countries also. Thanks, ma'am, for your inspiring speech. Professor Ratnavali perhaps we are working for last 10 years in administration in the different forms. Earlier also she was joint dean in legal cell, and now full-fledged dean in not in culture as announced by my other one colleague on the dais. She is dean academics, and all kind of the courses which are approved by our academic council with the help of the different departments and colleges. We have more than 600 courses, imagine. If we have 6 lakh students, we have more than 600 courses, ma'am. And how to finalize those? The key person is Professor Vatranali. We are thankful to her. Many times I just send an email asking her permission to allow to organize a lecture whenever an eminent scholar comes from outside. That is also to save some money that we have not to pay for the traveling also. Thanks to her. Professor Amitabh Chakravarti. In fact, one of the part of the theme is alternative. I'm standing here as an alternative. So, reason. The lady who's comparing this program, she's again and again saying word Dean culture. Dean culture was supposed to give the thanks. Professor Ravinder got stuck somewhere, and we have a proverb in Persian, Khore-fal be naam neke manzadan, that lottery came into my name. Thanks to Amitabh Chakravarti in fact, it reminds me of the first meeting of this conference. I really miss Dr. Chandra Mohan. From many years, I recognize him from his hat. And in the first meeting when Dr. Kavita was also there, me and Amitabh and 2-3 others, and we finalized that we should have this conference here. I hope his pious soul must be happy to see that his proposal has come to a final practical one, and it will bring out the desired outcomes as he cherished. I salute him. I'm thankful to Dr. Ramesh Mohan, her beloved spouse. She is here. I salute to her also. Many people from fields of literature. I can see Purushottam Agrawal Sahab, who has been member of UPSC, worked on Kabir. Professor Kumud, Vice President, Sahitya Academy. My dear friend Ravi Tekchandani, many heads from our Faculty of Arts, delegates who have come from the different countries or the different states of our country, and the main task holders who will continue this legacy of Delhi University, our dear students and young faculty members. I hope this conference will provide you many inputs to take this kind of a comparative literature themes further to work on. I also thank Professor Anisur Rahman to come all the way, as he will deliver a special lecture also in this conference, to be with us. Dr. Sanjay Rai and all the head of the departments I am not naming, with the fear that if I will miss someone, it will be also part of this. Thanks a lot, and I hope this conference will have its desired success. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. I now request you all to please stand up in the honor of the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you all. As we have reached the culmination of the inaugural session of the three-day long international conference, I extend a heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, sir. I extend a gratitude to all the luminaries of the day, foreign delegates, and all of you to be a part of this event. Looking forward to your enthusiastic participation in the further proceedings. I would like to inform you all that the next session will begin after 5 minutes, so you are requested to reassemble in 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I request you to please settle down so we can begin the next session. May I please request you to sit down so that we can begin the next session?